Hey there, guitar fanatics. It's my sincere wish that every guitar player that watches this channel develops the skills and abilities to move around the guitar neck with absolute freedom and pretty much be able to play anything they want to. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 3 killer exercises to help you develop that kind of skill. We're going to be combining and integrating the techniques that you really have to have down to achieve real fluency as a lead guitarist. Triads, 7th arpeggios, scale patterns, and we're going to play them in ways that are, yes, pretty challenging, but also fun. If you're ready to change your playing for the better, I'm ready to show you these exercises. So let's get right in there and play some guitar. Now, 2 things about the way we're going to play these drills. First is that we're going to be combining 2 concepts in each drill. We might mash together triad shapes and pentatonic scales, or it might be a 7th arpeggio followed by a major scale pattern. The second thing is we're going to play these ideas diatonically or all the way through the key. What this gets you prepared for is to be able to seamlessly shift from idea to idea like you hear in the licks and lines of the virtuosos that influenced me like Eric Johnson or Steve Vai, or virtuosos from today's generation like Mateus Assato or Pliny. Practicing like this is also going to help you learn to play through the chord changes of a song. You may have never practiced like this. These are some pretty big time exercises, so let's put on our big boy and big girl pants and dive into the first one, combining triad shapes and pentatonic scales. Now we're going to play this exercise in the key of G major. That way we'll be able to go through the whole concept just going straight up the fretboard. Let's do a quick theory review. The key of G major has 7 notes: G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. And we can build a triad off of each of those notes, and we get 3 major triads, 3 minor triads, and a diminished triad. Now, triads and pentatonic scales sound great together. Think of how a superfluid player like Eric Johnson might play something like this. That's what you're going to be able to do when you get this down. For this drill, we'll be using 3 different triad shapes. Here's the major shape with G major. Here's our minor shape with A minor. And here's the diminished triad. This is F sharp diminished. Now, don't get confused between a diminished triad and a diminished 7th arpeggio. We're going to be playing diminished triad with this exercise. And here's the drill. We're going to ascend through the triad arpeggio, starting with G major. We're going to play 2 octaves. We've got the root, the 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, and the root note starting the 3rd octave. And then we're going to add in the note above the root, which would be the 2nd or the 9th, and it's A in this case. And that sets us up for an easy shift into G major pentatonic pattern 2, which looks like this. We're going to descend through the pentatonic scale pattern, and when we get to the first note that we play on the low E string, which in this case was the B note, then we can shift right down to the A note at fret 5, and we're ready to play the triad and pentatonic scale of the next note in the G major key. Pretty slick. So we just saw the shape for the major triads and pentatonic in the key. In the key of G, that would be G major, C major, and D major. Now after G, the next note in triad, as we said, would be A minor. Here's our triad shape. The 9th would be B, and that connects us to the C note, which is part of A minor pentatonic pattern 1. Descend right down to the C at fret 8, and then the next note in the key would be B, the next triad and pentatonic scales, the B minor. C is the 9th, and then we play down the B minor pentatonic scale to the D note at fret 10, and then we're going to have C major, D is the ninth, and we're going to descend then through C major pentatonic pattern 2. That sets us up to play D major. E is the ninth. We're going to descend down pentatonic pattern 2 of D major. Now we're on to E minor. F sharp is our ninth, and we're going to play E minor pentatonic pattern 1. Now the seventh note and triad of the key of G major, as we said, is F sharp diminished. Here's our triad. And our G would be the ninth, the pentatonic scale that we're going to play here over this F sharp diminished triad is D major. This is pattern 3. And that brings us back to G, and we've got our G major triad and our pentatonic scale. So there are multiple things being learned with this exercise. 6-string triad shapes, the triads in a major key, the pentatonic scales that are contained within a major key. There's a lot going on here. This one exercise, if this is all you take away from this video, well, it's going to improve your fretboard knowledge immensely, especially if you haven't done this kind of thing. And it's been my experience both as a player and a teacher that these kinds of exercises, compound exercises, let's call them, are the ones that really blow up your playing skills. Cool stuff. Now I'm going to play through the exercise over a backing track that I made that goes through all the chords in a key. Let's give it a listen. All right, let's move on to our second exercise. And we're going to again use triad shapes, but this time we're going to combine them with major scale patterns. Now for the first variation of this exercise, we're going to again play triad shapes with the root on the low E string. And we're going to play the triad in 2 octaves. So for the G major triad, we're going to play the root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th. The 5th is a D note here at the 3rd fret of the B string. And what we're going to do next is jump up to the G note, or again the root, at the 8th fret of the B string with our pinky. And we're going to play right down the G major scale all the way back to our G root on the low E string. That would sound like this. Next, we'd go to the A at fret 5, and as you probably know or saw in the first exercise, the chord associated with A in the key of G major is A minor, so we play our A minor triad in 2 octaves, ending on the E at the 5th fret of the B string. And we're going to shift up to the A at fret 10 of the B string and descend through the G major scale again. Now we just played from A at the 10th fret of the B string to A at the 5th fret of the low E. And again, some of you may know this, some of you may not, but that's the A Dorian mode that we just played. The G major scale played from A to A. So once again, we're learning multiple things at the same time here. Now we're at the B note and the B minor triad. So we play the triad shape to the 5th of B minor or F sharp at the 7th fret of the B string. And we're going to shift up to the B at fret 12 and play down to the B at fret 7 of the low E. That's the B Phrygian mode. Next comes the C major triad, and we're going to play up to the G at the 8th fret of the B string, shift up to the C at the 13th fret of the B string, and play all the way back down to that C at the 8th fret of the low E. That's the C Lydian mode. Next is D and D major. We play to the A at the 10th fret of the B string. We're going to shift up to the D at fret 15. And descend down to the D at the 10th fret of the low E. That's D Mixolydian. Now we're on to the E note and the E minor triad. We play up to the B at fret 12 of the B string, then go to the E at the 17th fret and play down the G major scale. And that's E Aeolian mode, or E natural minor. Now the last note of the G major scale, the 7th note, is F sharp, and we have that F sharp diminished triad, and we're going to play up to the C at fret 13 of the B string. Then we're going to shift up to the F sharp at fret 19 and descend through the G major scale to the F sharp here at the 14th fret again. That is actually the F sharp Locrian mode. Okay, so that's the 7 triads of the G major scale played in 2 octaves, and all the modes of the key of G major, or you could think about it as 7 different fingerings of the G major scale. Both of those things would be true. And I want you to get to where you can play through all 7 continuously and uninterrupted like this. Okay, so the second variation of this exercise is to play our 2 octave triads and then the corresponding major scale, but with the root on the 5th or A string. Now I'm going to go through this really quickly because we already know which triads and scales we're going to play. Our major triad shapes are going to look like this. Here's G major. Our minor triad shape is going to look like this. Here's A minor. And the diminished triad shape with the 5th string root looks like this. Here's F sharp diminished. Now I'm going to play through the 7 triads over the backing track. I'll put diagrams up of the triads and the scales as I play through them. And you can also get all these diagrams in a downloadable form over on my Patreon page. You ought to check it out. So let's give this exercise a whirl. Here we go. So far, we've done 2 octave diatonic triads that we've played with pentatonic scales. We've also done 2 octave diatonic triads with major scales. And this brings us to the last of our 3 monster exercises. And for exercise 3, we're going to play 2 octave 7th arpeggios along with major scales. But I'm going to give this one a diabolical little twist to really keep you on your toes. First of all, here's the arpeggio shapes that we're going to be using in this exercise. Here's G major 7. And we'll use that shape for G major 7 and C major 7. Here's A minor 7. We'll also use that for B minor 7 and E minor 7. Here's D7. And there's only one dominant 7 arpeggio in a major key. And lastly, here's F sharp minor 7 flat 5 or F sharp half diminished. And what's the evil little twist that I'm throwing in? Well, after we ascend through the arpeggio to the highest note, and each arpeggio has a second note on the high E string, and that note is going to be the third interval of the root. So for instance, here's G major 7, and that last note we played is B at the 7th fret. B is the third of G. We're going to make a jump on the fretboard up to the 6th of each root note, and we play the G major scale straight down to the lowest note in that pattern. Let me show you with G major 7. We're going to play root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, 3rd, which is B, and then we're going to jump up to the E note at the 12th fret, which is the 6th of G. And we play our scale pattern descending until we reach the B at fret 7 of the low E string. And now we're in a position to shift right to the A note and do the same thing with A minor 7. If we ascend through A minor 7, the highest note of that arpeggio is going to be C at fret 8 of the high E. And then we jump up to the F sharp at fret 14, which is the 6th of A, and descend through the scale to the C on the low E string. And then we can shift to B at fret 7, and we would be playing B minor 7. The highest note of this B minor 7 shape is D. And then we shift up to the G note at fret 15 and descend through the scale to D at fret 10 of the low E. Shift down to fret 8 to the C note, and we can play C major 7. Ascending through C major 7, the highest note is E at fret 12 of the high E string. Then we're going to shift up to the 6th of C, which is A at fret 17, descend through the scale to the E note at fret 12 of the low E. Now we can shift to the D note at fret 10 and play D dominant 7. The highest note of which is F sharp at fret 14. We're going to shift up to the B at fret 19 and descend through the scale to F sharp at fret 14 of the low E. Now we can shift down to E, play E minor 7, ending at the G at fret 15 of the high E string. We're going to shift up to the C at fret 20 and descend through the scale to the G at fret 15 of the low E string. The 7th and last note and 7th arpeggio in the key of G is F sharp and F sharp minor 7 flat 5. The shape looks like this. The highest note is A. Then we're going to shift all the way up to the D at the 22nd fret and descend through the scale to the A at fret 17 of our low E string, and that brings us back to G. And once again, we've played through the entire key. And the idea, again, is to be able to play through the entire exercise smoothly and continuously. I'll give it a go along with the backing track. So there are our 3 compound exercises, and I'm calling them that because they help us ingrain multiple things. Triads, 7th arpeggios, pentatonic scales, major scales, starting our scales from different notes, making wide intervallic jumps on the fretboard. Again, this is all stuff that you need to be able to do if you want to maximize your ability to make your way around the guitar neck and get your ideas out of your head, out through your fingers. Come on over and check out my Patreon page where you can download all these diagrams, tabs, backing tracks, and we get more in depth with some of these topics. You can also check out this video for more great exercises that are going to help you develop your lead guitar skills. As I always say, work hard, play hard, have fun with that guitar, and I'll be seeing you soon. Take care.